Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you here to join us in this webinar with Baljinder. My name is Colleen Smith. I'm the head administrator for IHN, the in-class in the Ontario Eastern. I've been working I work in the Con Ed department with Julia, and I'm a graduate of IHN. I graduated in 2013 and have been with IHN for almost 9 years. And I'm really excited to be hosting this webinar with Baljinder tonight. So this webinar tonight that we'll be doing, Bal is going to be talking about comparative use of supplementation for stress, anxiety, and sleep. He will be talking about the pathology of acute and chronic stress and what else it affects in the body, exploring the stats of different issues surrounding anxiety, depression, and insomnia. He'll be looking at different choices and modalities, including nutraceuticals, botanicals, homeopathics, and essential oils, and different products that are on the market that you can use. And this webinar is an excerpt from his upcoming course, the Supplementation in Clinical Practice, which we have running in May. So Baljinder has been an educator and natural health consultant in the industry for over 20 years. He graduated with a bachelor, with the honors Bachelor of Science degree and a diploma in naturopathic medicine. He's been with Dr. Reckweg and Bio Lorenco for over 10 years as their national educator and consultant, educating practitioners about various nutraceuticals, homeopathics on the market. He has a vast knowledge of all the different products on the market. And Baljinder has also taught anatomy and physiology with the Institute of Holistic Nutrition, and he has a lot of exciting and industry knowledge to share in his supplementation and clinical practice course. So Bal, I take it over to you.
Hello. My first 3 slides are everything you just said, so I don't even know why I put them in the presentation, but thank you. All right, let's get started here. Let me just share my presentation with you first. Make sure we're all on the same page here. All right. As Colleen said, we're going to do the Q&A thing there. I'm going to try to have the Q&A open so I can try to answer the questions as we go, but we will go through them at the end either way. If I don't get a chance to, as I said, I'll do my best to try to get through them because that's usually when they're relevant. One thing just so you guys know, I'm not going to go and do case stuff with you guys in your question and answer. Just it's whatever's related to the topic at hand here, which is a comparative use of supplements for stress-related issues. That's what I'll try to answer. Anything else you'll want to email me, any personal stuff or client-based stuff, it's more involved. You'll want to email me and I'll try to answer those to you directly. So let's try to keep it related to what we've got here. Otherwise, we'll be here all night. As I said, there's a Raptors game just about to start, and I want to catch the last half of that if you guys don't mind. But either way, we'll be here till you guys are here. I don't usually stop my presentations until everybody just starts to leave on me. That's usually how it goes. I'm going to try to do this in the 1 hour, and then we'll do our question and answer, anything else that's missed. So as I said, I encourage you to put them in the question and answer thing. I'll try to answer them as I go because that's usually when I find it's the most relevant time to answer it. But if we do miss it, we will take care of it then. So thank you for joining me. Thanks for IHN for putting this webinar on. As she said, this is a part of my course that I do for continuing ed, supplementation and clinical practice. This is a small snippet of one of the lectures that I would have in there. Okay. So, you guys can probably see my slides. And just so you guys know, I will send, actually, no, I won't send this to her. You guys will have my email. If you want a copy of the presentation, a PDF of this, email me and I will get it to you. So email me. The email will be at the very end. Email me and I'll make sure I send this out to you. Okay. as she's already said, I've been in the consulting field for over 20 years. Currently, I am the national educator of Baljinder Chhoker, where I teach about homeopathics, gemotherapies, essential oils, all the stuff that we distribute to practitioners, including other supplementation and Bach flowers and so on. So I do webinars, I do in-office training, so on. So that's been over 10 years now. My knowledge base comes from more of the retail sector for actually probably about 18 years or more now. I work in the retail sector, learning about these products, and that's how this presentation is given to you, and that's actually how my course is done too. Comparative use of supplementation. There's a lot of supplements out there, and I just want to make it easier for you to get started for whatever condition we're talking about. And yeah, I currently teach the supplementation clinical practice course. I did teach anatomy physiology. Honestly, I hated it. It was a lot of memory work. When I did it with Linda, I did the second half. She did the first half. I think that was great. There's more clinical stuff involved in the second half, but it's just all memorization. And that's why I hated it. But either way, it's important core part of what you need. You need to be able to know the anatomy, physiology to know how to use these supplements properly. Okay. So everything you learn in your course at IHN, or if you've been at any other school and you're learning that, it's crucial to know all that base knowledge to use supplements properly. Okay. And, we want to talk about supplements in the therapeutic form, not just the maintenance form. Your top food is, food and nutrition is the best way to go ahead and take care of certain pathologies and practically all of them. But at some point, depending on when that person comes to you, supplementation is going to be needed for that therapeutic purpose. Get them back on track so that you can get rid of the supplements eventually and let food, nutrition, lifestyle take care of it for them. Okay. And that's what you're learning through your education at the school. My course is about adding on to that a little bit. Okay. So when it comes to stress-related issues, all people handle stress differently. If you talk amongst each other, people are all different amongst in various scales. Some, just get completely tense and they start worrying about everything. Most are, and some others are just easygoing. They don't just let it slide off and just let it be. Whatever it is going to happen is going to happen, which really where everybody should be, just so you know. But since everyone is different, this is why we need to be talking about this topic so that when it starts to affect their daily life, okay, it becomes a gigantic issue for them to be able to function. And we want to be able to support them for that, because continuous stress leads to a constant drain on the nervous system, leading to weakness of other body systems. Okay. And, in this fight against stress, there's a loss of focus and clarity, as well as the tension and the pain, anxiety, depression, insomnia. Those are things we're going to talk about: anxiety, depression, insomnia. Okay. We have to be able to maintain our energy, immunity, and hormonal balance, because if we do not deal with the stress properly, those will get severely affected. And that means it's going to affect the rest of your body all the way through. It will lead to deeper pathology, which will affect growth, immunity, and nutritional deficiencies. And tonight we're going to talk about all these things that are available for that purpose. This was Colleen, she already read this, what we're going to discuss tonight. So we'll just get into the topic right now. All right. Health is not simply the absence of disease. It is a true state of physical and mental equilibrium. That's a picture of health, physical and mental. Practitioners, all types of practitioners, are more into isolation these days than the holistic view. This is what's actually getting taught, obviously, in our medical system is isolation. It's actually what's getting taught at the naturopathic college, where my background is, right? I don't practice, right? But I've been through the naturopathic for over 20 years, right? And I'm still in the field through the education. But they are getting taught isolation also. So we have to bring it back to the whole person in front of you. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, actually, all of it has to come into play. And if you want to see people healthy, you have to be addressing the whole person. So when it comes to stress, there's the general stress, and then there's the causes of stress. The anxiety, depression, insomnia, all those are a cause of that stress that's on the person. So let's define these things first. Stress, what is it? A physical or psychological stimulus that produces either mental tension, physiological reactions. And the thing is, if it goes chronic, it's what leads to illness, including anxiety, depression, insomnia, and even burnout. If you do not take care of it, we've all heard of adrenal fatigue, and we've heard of complete burnout. You can get there. So it has to be managed in the proper way as things are coming to you to avoid that deep state of a much longer recovery. Anxiety, an acute state of intense apprehension or uncertainty and fear. Now, the key thing here is it's resulting from the anticipation of an event or situation. Anticipation, something that has not even happened. You're worried about that, and it's affecting your in the moment life. Something in the future that may or may not even happen, and it's disrupting your normal physical and psychological functioning. Just think about that. Something that may or may not even happen. That's anxiety. Okay. 2, depression, a state of persistent sadness and lack of interest. Now, there's really 2 reasons for this. Resulting from a biochemical imbalance, which is a true depressive state as far as I'm concerned, or from a traumatic event in the past. So something that happened a week ago, really more so a year ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, some traumatic event, most likely a mental traumatic event, that a person has not been able to get over. And so they are stuck in that past, leading to that depressive state, leading to a disruption of normal physical and psychological functioning. So both anxiety and depression are affecting the here and now. But in anxiety, you're sitting there in the future thinking about something that may or may not happen. And depression, something in the past, most likely, that you can't get over, accept, and move on from. Therefore, it's affecting your day-to-day right now. We need people to come into the center, which is here and now. Anxiety's gone, depression's gone if you're in the here and now. Live in the moment, all right? And none of that stuff will bother you. You don't need any supplementation for any of this stuff. Problem is, people are not living in the moment, so they need support to either, for the depression, get over this mental, emotional trauma that they've had, so they can come into the present, or they need this calming down of that nervous system, that agitation from something that may or may not happen in the future, all right, to get rid of that anxiety, to bring them back into the moment. That's really the end goal here. Bring them to the moment. When we look at the symptoms of stress, putting all of these things together, the conditions, all right, I break them up into 4 categories. There's the physical, emotional, behavioral, and cognitive. Stress affects everything. So, physical, chest pains, rapid heartbeat, systemic inflammation, lots of fatigue, and of course, digestive issues, diarrhea, and or constipation, when people are usually agitated, they've got anxiety, that's kind of what's going to happen. Emotional, you get moodiness. There's this whole agitation and inability to relax, irritable, short temper, depression or general unhappiness and or anxiety. Behavioral, eating disorders, irregular sleep, the insomnia we're going to talk about at the end. Okay, if it's severe enough, you're going to get addiction, whether it's to alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, or anything else. All right, the addiction will happen again if it's not controlled, or that's their way of trying to cope with it, but that's not going to help in the long run. And of course, isolating oneself from others, which is a key symptom of depression. And then cognitive, the inability to concentrate, the inability to focus, get rid of those anxious and racing thoughts, memory problems, and of course, the constant worry. So those are the types of symptoms you're going to see depending on where they are on the scale of how much stress is affecting them, whether it is anxiety or depression, right? The type of symptoms they're going to see. So when you see that type of picture, that's when we know that they're stressed. And then we can go ahead and look at what are the key issues affecting them so that we can treat accordingly. It is easier to suppress. I prefer the use prevent. So it is easier to prevent evil at the start and more difficult as it grows because people ignore the small, they suffer by the large. That's the pathology of chronic stress. When you don't take care of something in the initial stages, you ignore it. No worries. You know what? I can handle it. It'll get better by itself, blah, blah, blah. Well, it just compounds. Because the people ignore the small, they suffer by the large. It just compounds, gets worse and worse. That's really when people are coming to you, when they start suffering like anything, when it goes chronic. Nobody cares about the initial stages, but I'll tell you, if you're seeing clients, what you want to do is let them know, hey, the initial stages of anything that you don't feel right is when I want to see you. So we can actually help take care of it then before it balloons to a bigger problem, before it becomes a chronic issue. And when we look at stress in a chronic state, what happens? We got the HPA dysregulation, the cortisol imbalance. It affects the glucose imbalance. All right. We get immune activity, which is lower or hyperactive. So chronic infections or allergic reactions. Inflammation sets in completely everywhere within the system. We can get gastric ulcerations and we can get cognition and memory impairment. Again, if this keeps going uncontrolled, that's where you're going to lead to. So the end result, what do we see people coming in with? Suppressed immunity, metabolic syndrome, right? Carbohydrate cravings, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome overall is affecting, it's really just tearing them down. We can get bone and muscle loss. Obviously, there's going to be insomnia, continual decrease in energy. And again, if uncontrolled, it becomes chronic. There's the addiction part of it. So that's the chronic stress. What we're going to see when they come in, this is what they will be talking about that's happening with them. So then you got to now go in the roundabout way of working backwards to not only deal with their mental emotional state, that anxiety or depression, but now you have to build the body back up so that it's not catching all the colds and flus. It's not getting broken down by metabolic syndrome. They're not getting weaker all around. So a lot of work needs to be done when they're hitting chronic stress. So let's look at some of the stats that are out there as to why dealing with stress is important. Okay. 2014 paper, Health Canada, KMH paper, sorry. 70% of mental health problems have their onset during childhood or adolescence. Childhood or adolescence. So we're talking regular school times and high school. Young people aged 15 to 24 are more likely to experience mental illness and or substance use disorders than any other age group. So this is before they even enter the workforce. They're still under education here. They're still going to school here. Okay. 34% of Ontario high school students indicated moderate to serious levels of psychological distress. So that's anxiety and or depression. And 14% indicated a serious level of psychological distress. It's 1/3 of our high school students. Okay. 2014 survey on living with chronic disease in Canada. All right. So this is a Government Canada paper. Estimated 3 million, which is about 12%, aged 18 or older reported they have had a mood or anxiety disorder. More than a quarter, 27% reported that their disorder affected their life quite a bit or extremely. So a quarter of them. It affected them on a daily basis. All right. So they were unable to do their work properly. They found it very challenging to do their stuff. So we're seeing numbers that are crazy in a way of people getting affected by this. Most people with mood and or anxiety disorders are currently taking or have taken prescription meds, 93% of them. But few, 20%, have received psychological counseling to help manage their disorders. And then if we go even to a younger group, this is back in 2004, 2005, mental and behavioral disorders for youth. 5% of children aged 2 to 5 years exhibiting high levels of emotional and or anxiety problems. 7% in that same age group, 2 to 5, exhibited hyperactivity and inattention. And 15% total of the children aged 2 to 5 exhibit high levels of physical aggression, opposition, and conduct disorders. So that aggression that's there. So the whole thing is, it indicates the effects of stress and anxiety are at a young age, and the numbers are just going to keep going up and up and up. And obviously with 2 years of being at home during COVID, that didn't help any of it, because there's no social interaction whatsoever to be able to release that, especially when we look at the older ones too, right? If you're not out there in society and you're not able to talk to, play with, so on, you can't get any of that aggression out for kids, right? So you see it even more. So again, this is a big problem. Starts at a very young age. So you want to be looking for those signs and symptoms that, that slide that we saw earlier for this at that beginning stages, so we can deal with it then before it becomes a gigantic problem. Harmony and well-being come from the understanding that human beings are complex living entities in which the physical, mental, and spiritual are one. Any doctor who concentrates only on one aspect cannot pretend to completely cure any pathology. Now, I think the key word there is cure. We are so used to management of something. We're managing this condition. This medical model that we live in is about management, right? It's about protocols for whatever condition people have. All right. And we slot them into that whole isolation point of view, right? We slot them into that and we just give them that protocol. We give everybody that same protocol. But it's an individual in front of you. So you can manage the population with that protocol. This is why I actually hate the term protocol, by the way. All right. You can manage that, but you can't cure anyone unless you're going to deal with that person individually. So you can take whichever protocol you've got for whatever condition that you're dealing with. But if you don't customize that protocol to the individual, you will never be able to cure anything. Your job should be looking at the cure of any pathology, not management of any pathology. We are in the management stages in the way we are doing things. right? But don't forget you're dealing with the individual in front of you, right? Not the masses. Masses get managed, individuals get healed, right? So remember, you're dealing with the whole person. So you have to look at their physical, mental, emotional, spiritual state and be able to give them support for that to help that person get better. So what's the end result of stress and anxiety? Well, we want to see, based off the symptom pictures that we had, all right, that they're going to present with, we want to see better mental clarity and focus. We want to see better coping and adaptation, a decreased irritability, emotional balance. We want to see improved sleep and sustained energy. And of course, we want to be able to control those cravings and addictions. Right? So depending on what type of symptoms they are, that's your goal with them, with that individual. And before we get into the individual products we're going to talk about, let's talk about general nutrition. These are the basics to support the body for general maintenance, what we generally need for them. And they probably will be coming to you with some of this stuff already. So you are now going to customize that protocol for the individual with the other stuff we're going to talk about. But they're probably going to be coming to you with some of this stuff for stress-related issues in general. And magnesium will probably be the number one thing. But if they're taking a magnesium, make sure they're taking either a magnesium glycinate or a magnesium threonate. Okay, those are two particular types of magnesium that are really good for mental, emotional stuff. Okay, overall support with the glycinate, but the threonate, it's the one that actually gets into the brain. And so that's the one you want to be looking at for a lot of mental, emotional stuff. You might be looking at greens or a multivitamin. I'll take greens over a multi any day. All right, greens provide a complete multivitamin mineral aspect, but they provide detoxification, they provide a lot of energy, and they provide a lot of alkalizing. So overall, a lot more support. You might need to make sure they're doing enough vitamin D, right? 1 to 2,000. Some people go even higher, but just make sure that they're well within range. That's all you want to do, right? Because that will affect, especially as we know, sad, through the winter time, if they get, emotionally disrupted, that they need the vitamin D to help them be alert and alive almost in a way. Make sure they're getting the proper dosage. Probiotics, digestive health is closely related to the nervous system. That's why we talked about as one of those, physical symptoms, the diarrhea and or constipation too. All right, a lot of nervous system sitting in the gut. And so probiotics, and there's particular ones that are for mood. So yes, we know of the general lactobacillus and bifido, but look into the Helveticus and the bifidolongo, and there's actually probiotics that are out there that are labeled for mood. Okay, so those are the ones you might want to look into in this particular case. Switch over from a regular one to the mood ones. Essential fatty acids, we know that they're important, especially the EPA. Fish oils mainly have two main components, EPA and DHA. DHA is more the memory side of it, retention, but the EPA is the main one that's for mood stabilization. So it's for mood stabilization, anti-inflammatory, cholesterol support. So you want something with a very high ratio of EPA to DHA in this case, all right? So you might be looking at trying to get anywhere between 500 to 1,000 milligrams of just the pure EPA, all right, with whatever ratio you got of DHA, hopefully much lower. And there are products out there that are, 6.5 to 1, almost like a 10 to 1 ratio of EPA to DHA. So you want to be looking at those types of things as general support. So whatever they're coming in with, really my thing is, whatever they're coming in with, you may eventually have to change it up to give them the proper one for the therapeutic purposes. Okay, whether it is the magnesium, if they're coming in with a citrate, well, you're going to have to change it up. Essential fatty acids, if it's not a high enough EPA, change it up. Probiotics, if it's not the proper one for mood, change it up. Okay, and then the last thing, and which I think is actually probably one of the most important things, is protein. The number one deficient macronutrient for people is protein. And proteins are just amino acids, right? So if we look at collagen, it's just amino acids in a different ratio. Whey protein, amino acids in a particular ratio, probably the most easily utilized by the body, but you can get plant-based proteins. In the end, it's amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of our body, and most people are completely deficient in absorbable amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of our immunity, and chronic stress brings down the immune system. So if we don't have enough amino acids, our immune system will be low too. B, amino acids are the building blocks of our neurotransmitters. All those hormones within the brain and the signal regulators, in the brain that are helping with keeping us stable mentally. It's the building blocks of those. And if you don't have enough absorbable protein, that will also be affected. And C, the number one reason that most people use protein, but which to me is the third reason, is the building blocks of our muscles, our body in the repair from workout, right? That's the number one people use protein post-workout recovery, but really it's the third reason to be using it. So when you think about it, who doesn't have immune issues? Who does not have mental, emotional issues, right? Pretty well everybody coming to you has that. Are they getting enough protein to be able to help build their neurotransmitters, build their amino acids to help support those systems? And usually they're not. So make sure you're getting that. And I will tell you, if there's one thing you want to look at MAP. These are pills of amino acids. What I call the best product in the world, period. Master Amino Pattern, MAP. Okay, just look it up. They're the 8 essential amino acids, the building blocks of everything. High anabolic rate. It's pure anabolic, really, at the end of the day. All right. Look at those if you want high absorbable amino acids. All right. Yes, you might be doing whey protein, a plant-based protein, whatever it is. But if they want something that's really the highest absorbable out there, look at Master Amino Pattern. Okay. The other stuff that you want to be looking at, you want to be looking at detoxifiers. You want to clean up the system. You want to get rid of all the junk that's blocking pathways. So it is important to detoxify the people at some point, whether at the beginning stages when you see them, or at some point once you got things under control and on their path to the healing. You might want to throw in some detoxifiers to clean up the system to make it more efficient, to metabolize everything, get rid of waste, and metabolize everything much better. And then C, neurological support, the stuff that we're going to be talking about, looking at GABA, passionflower, lavender, St. John's wort. These things are going to help balance the mood much better. Okay, calm it down and or uplift it depending on the situation. All right, those are things we're going to look into a little bit more detail now. So, but you always got the basics. See what they've got, work with them on that, and change to the right ones if you need to. So, stress. We're going to first look at depression, anxiety, and adrenals. Okay, in practically that order, I think. So, first things first, depression. Remember, this was some mental, emotional trauma in the past that they have not been able to get over and get into the moment. So, basically, their serotonin levels are completely messed up. All right. They are in a sad state. They don't want to be around people. They may have eating disorders because of this. Okay. So they just want to crawl up and be by themselves. But they have no, what's the word? Gumption to be able to get up and do things. All right. They don't have any of that. So the best thing and the number one thing that will help them quickly is SAMe. SAMe is an amino acid component okay, methionine-based component that helps with serotonin production in the body. So antidepressants basically keep the serotonin in the system longer, right? And then when you come off of it, this is why you get the ups and downs even more. SAMe helps with its production more efficiently. So therefore it starts to balance off the mood much better. SAMe is involved in so many biological factors. Okay. It helps with, methylation. It helps with the neurotransmitter brain messenger molecules, what we're concerned with. It helps with hormone production. And it also helps with cartilage forming cells. You need a very high dosage for that. So there's a lot better ways to deal with cartilage formation. All right. But the main thing is relieves symptoms of depression. Okay. Yes, you want B vitamins with it. It's really important. Okay. So this here, Blissfora, right, by Metagenics, is the pure 400 milligrams of SAMe. It has the added B12 in the methylcobalamin, the neurologically active form, and some 5-MTHF, or the active form of folic acid, in there too. So supporting blood cell formation, more energy for the person. Okay. So this is probably one of the fastest ways to get somebody moving out of depressive state. Doesn't matter if it's chronic or acute. Okay. 400 milligrams a day. Rarely do you need to go up to the, 2 a day. Normally one pill on an empty stomach that has to be enteric-coated. So here's the key things about SAMe. They have to be able to swallow the pill as is. You can't bite into it. You can't crush it. You can't break it up. No. The enteric coating on there is what protects it from the stomach acid, because otherwise it's very unstable. So it has to be swallowed as is for it to be effective, to get down into the small intestine. And if they can't swallow the pills, then think of other things like St. John's wort in a liquid or something like that. Okay. And there's one contraindication. If somebody is bipolar, that is the only time you cannot use SAMe. Anything else, SAMe is completely safe, except for being bipolar. Safe enough that actually pregnant women can take SAMe. So if they've got that mild depressive state during pregnancy, they can take SAMe to help them get out of that state. So usually within a week to 2 weeks, you see SAMe working. That's how fast and effective it is. One pill, usually once a day. And within a couple of weeks, they start to see their mood elevation coming up. And obviously, you're going to do it for much longer to get them completely out of this. You're going to support it with B vitamins and then their nutrition on top of it. Okay. But the very first thing and the fastest acting thing is SAMe. Next is St. John's wort, and Pascal's Neuropath Balance has got 3 things in there, and the main thing being, of course, St. John's wort. St. John's wort is unique. It's probably the number one thing prescribed in most cases for depression. It has this uplifting and mood elevation effect to it. Okay, and St. John's wort, the only thing you got to worry about is that in most cases you can get what they call photosensitivity. So if you take St. John's wort and step out in the sun, your eyes will become very sensitive. And some aspects of St. John's wort, some biochemical components within it, can interfere with medication that somebody may already be doing, antidepressive medication. Now, what's unique about Neuropaths, they've got a particular extract out of that St. John's wort that, you can read up through Pasco on that it doesn't affect the medication. And maybe it's because the dosage is low enough in general in what you're going to be taking that it won't affect that. But it's been shown in most cases that it will not affect the having any interactions with other drugs. Okay. So decreasing depressive thoughts, that's the main thing what the St. John's wort is doing. But the other 2 things in here are excellent to support the anxiety situations, the acute situation of anxiety that come up when somebody is depressed, and also the sleep issue. So it has got passion flower that helps with the anxiety, valerian root, which has this mind calming for sleep purposes too. Okay. It's not high enough that it's going to put you to sleep during the day, but it is great to help keep them calm in general, but while it's uplifting their moods. The dosage on Neuropass is actually pretty high. They're small tablets. You're looking at 2 tablets 2 to 3 times a day in most cases. And it takes about a month to get them out of this thing, start getting them out of this thing. So obviously you're going to do it for longer, but works really well for those people who've got depression and mild anxiety episodes in between. So if they've got both those things, then this will be probably better than SAMI. But if it's pure depression deep, SAMI is going to be the number one choice. Next is anxiety. Whether it is anxiety, like I said, with depression, like we just saw before, anxiety episodes in between, or just generalized anxiety, that's their main thing and no depression. The number one choice is the neurotransmitter GABA. So GABA is probably the quickest acting to help calm down someone who's in an anxiety state. Now, the one I have on the screen is actually chewable, so it's even faster acting. Each tablet gives you 100 milligrams of GABA. Okay, so 200 milligrams in 2 tablets. And they're going to be chewing 1 to 2 tablets as needed, really. So it could be once a day, could be 4 or 5 times a day, depending on the situation and the triggers. All right. The chewable works much faster than the pills. GABA is a major inhibitory neurotransmitter in the central nervous system. So it provides balancing for that excitatory effect on the nerves. Very fast acting. Like within about 5-10 minutes, you start to see this calming effect. And it can last for about 4 to 6 hours. Just again, depends on how much of a trigger there is. They may have to, redose every 2 hours for a little bit. But in most cases, it works pretty fast and it can last a while. Okay, so this guy here is number one choice for acute anxiety. Chew 1 or 2 as needed. It provides this whole relaxing, calming effect. So you got focus and clarity in the acute situations. All right, so whatever the trigger may be, that's it. The other option is Pascal Flare or passion flower in general. We talked about it in Neuropass. Passion flower, this is much higher. So it's basically 10 times the amount or more than what we have in the Neuropass. So passion flower is the number one herb used for anxiety. GABA, as I said, is probably the first choice. Passion flower would be probably the second choice. Relieves restlessness as a result of mental stress. It can actually help calm down the mind, and so can GABA, to help you fall asleep better. So it gives you the ability to fall asleep. And we're going to look at some other things later that even better than this for giving you the ability to fall asleep. Passion flower, pretty fast acting within about 30 minutes, right? Because you're swallowing pills, it has to get through the digestive system and then back into the system. That's why it takes longer. But it has a great anti-anxiety effect, calms those racing thoughts. Whether it's school anxiety or anything else like that, performance anxiety, you can do this on a daily basis. 1 tablet might be enough. You might need to do more. As I said, GABA will probably be quicker acting in that moment. Passion flower is great for long-term, continual anxiety. And you can do the 2 together if you need to on top of that. Lavender. Lavender, very unique. Lavender as an essential oil and also as pills. Now, there's many pearls, so you can get actually pills of lavender through Pranarome and actually also through, if I'm not mistaken, NFH and New Roots. So you can do lavender internally. Now, we all know lavender is a great relaxant to the nervous system. So for mild symptoms of mental stress, mental exhaustion, anxiety management, lavender is excellent. And as I said, you can do the essential oil where you can inhale it, you can put it into a diffuser, but pills are available that will do a great job of quickly calming anxiety episodes. So these pills, these lavender mini caps or pearls are tiny pills, very tiny pills that practically anybody can swallow, even little kids, to give them this calming effect. Lavender, essential oils, have got, really they're plants. They're botanical medicine. They have biochemical components And then, this is really what we're looking at, these esters, or the linalool is the key components in here that are giving you all these properties of antispasmodic, calmative, sedative. Okay. So that's why we use it for muscle cramps, stress, anxiety, agitation, insomnia. And lavender is great for anything of a nervous system origin. So asthma, digestive spasms, things like migraines even. So it calms the whole nervous system down. So again, you can take 1 to 2 pills as needed, okay? Or you can diffuse it. Question here, okay? How come lavender is supposed to be taken 3 weeks on and 1 week off, noted in the chart? Well, when you're looking at anything, you're actually going to see this on B complexes and things like that too. Don't take for more than 4 or 5 weeks at a time. You're supposed to have it with NPNs. You're supposed to have it reassessed. See what's going on. Is there anything else you're supposed to be doing? Now, essential oils are very potent, but that won't matter. You can actually take this longer if you need to. That's not a concern. With NPN regulations, natural product regulations, all the labels actually almost say don't use for more than 3 weeks or 3 months or whatever it is. Like the medical system, go get reassessed for your, refill. And then, they may change things up or not. That's really why it's written as that. But you can do this continuously if you needed to do it for 4 or 5 weeks and things are getting better, and that's fine. Not an issue whatsoever. Okay. Okay, so that we've just talked about depression, SAMI, and neuropaths. We've talked about anxiety, GABA, and passion flower, and lavender on top of that. Okay, so those are the main ones. Yes, there's other combinations of all of these too. Don't forget, I'm just highlighting the main components here. If you want to find a SAMI from Designs for Health or Natural Factors AOR, absolutely fine. There's a whole slew out there. All right, we're just talking about the basic ones here, basic component here. Next, the human body has been designed to resist an infinite number of changes and attacks brought on by its environment. The secret of good health lies in the successful adjustment to changing stresses on the body. That's adaptation. The body has, and you have, the ability to adapt to its surroundings, its environment. All right. And the better we can adapt to all of this, the less stress will take a hold on us. So sometimes it's harder for people to adapt. They don't have a proper nutrition, they don't have the proper support system, or they don't have the proper supplementation. And this is the beauty of supplementation. It can help you through those tough times, support the body, support the adrenals in this case, okay, to get them back up and running. So first, all right, the adrenals. There's 2 parts of the adrenals, your anatomy, physiology, sorry. All right, but this is just a quick summary of this. There's the inner part, the medulla, and the outer covering the cortex. Okay. The adrenal medulla, the inner part, is what's responsible for the release of epinephrine or adrenaline and norepinephrine. So it's our rapid response, our fight or flight. Okay, stimulates rapid mobilization of metabolic resources, so it increases our heart rate, blood pressure, and blood glucose. Fight or flight. Adrenal cortex produces our glucocorticoids and our mineralocorticoids. These are our hormones. These form a backup response, and it's a slower effect. Cortisol is the most important human glucocorticoid involved in regulation of metabolism, immune response, and general homeostasis. If we look at the chronic effect of stress, immune system was affected, right? The whole metabolism, the inflammation, then dysregulation of all the hormones, right? So that's when we want to look at supporting the adrenal cortex. In the acute case, we're looking at supporting the medulla. Okay. And before we get into the adrenal support supplementations, I want to look at one other aspect, which is the mind. Stress affects the mind big time, right? And giving you the ability to adapt to a situation, we need our mind to be calm. We need our mind to be focused. So we're going to look at a couple things here that are important on that aspect. And first thing is theanine. Theanine, and this is just like the GABA that we saw earlier, a chewable format, okay, from BioClinic, because it's faster acting. Okay, so Compro is theanine. Theanine is an amino acid from tea, okay, which crosses the blood-brain barrier within about 30 minutes. And it has an effect on the central nervous system. It increases the alpha waves activity. Therefore, it's actually giving you a wakeful relaxation. So it's keeping you alert, but giving your mind the relaxation it needs, giving you the ability to focus, giving you the ability to concentrate on the task at hand through that stressful time. Okay, so it increases performance under stress, improved learning and concentration, and therefore decreases anxiety, stress in the system. Okay, so this guy here, okay, the sun theanine is what they're using. And you've seen theanine, I'm pretty sure, at 400 or 500 milligrams, 250 to 500 milligrams. And this is 100 milligram per tablet, by the way. 2 tablets give you 200, 100 milligram per tablet. I found that the sun theanine form of L-theanine works just as good as regular L-theanine of 500 milligrams. So you need less because of their extraction process. All right. It does a much better job at the lower dosage. You can chew one as needed. Again, all to give you this focus and clarity so that when you're under a lot of stress, you can concentrate on the task at hand, which is about focus, being able to do what you need to do. All right. And deal with that oncoming stress. One of my favorites when the mind just keeps going is the Dr. Record VC15 tonic. A homeopathic blend with a lot of vitamin C support for the system, and vitamin C is important for adrenal support. Okay. The homeopathics, all right, in here is what I call a shut the mind off formula. When the wheels keep turning in the back and you need to get focus and clarity. Okay. Doesn't matter if it's acute, grief, emotional trauma, all right, broke up with someone, a car accident, lost your job, whatever it is. And now the mind keeps going. What if I had type of thing, right? This calms the wheels in the back so you have the focus and clarity you need to do. It helps with anxiety or the inability to concentrate. It helps with nervous exhaustion and weakness, right? Any of that emotional trauma that's triggering the mind gives you the focus and clarity also. And then the last one, and one of my favorites, because it really provides a 2-in-1, is CalGem. CalGem is gemotherapy, and I know you guys won't know what gemotherapy is, so really quickly, it's a botanical medicine used in the buds and shoots of plants. Springtime, when the plants start to bloom, they have those little buds on them. It's an extraction of those buds in alcohol, glycerin, and water. All right, so 3 solvents all at the same time to extract all its nutrients, and it's really important for rebuilding and restoring because it has the growth hormones, the vitamins, minerals, chelating agents. Everything is extracted through that alcohol, glycerin, and water. Right, regular tinctures are just alcohol extraction. Okay, so you have a lot more coming out. So now we're talking about rebuilding and restoring. So CalGem has 2 main things in here. There are 2 gemos plants, okay, which is the fig and the black currant. So ficus and ribes nigrum. This whole formula is to help with acute stress and anxiety and chronic rebuilding of the system. Okay, so where the system has been weakened, it's a hyperactive. Okay, it helps to bring all that back to normal. For acute anxiety like stage fright, insomnia, it'll help with that too. Okay. So, but when we look at the 2 components in your fig, it is really one of the best things for stress-related emotional disturbances, anxiety, depression, whether it's digestive system related, right? It balances deep-seated endocrine and nervous system anxiety. It's a drainer for the system. Remember, I talked about drainage, but we're talking nervous system drainage. All the toxins within that system to restore the nervous system that's been battered through stress. The other thing, ribes, and a lot of people do know about ribes. Ribes nigrum is the best nervous and hormonal rebalancer. It's for that cortisone-like action, anti-inflammatory. It's what helps the adrenals rebuild when they've been battered through chronic stress. The adrenals take a toll. This is supporting the adrenals. So we got two things in here, the nervous system balancing and the adrenal balancing. So this is the beginning of our adrenal remedies. Okay. So this is the acute and chronic rebuilding. I think it's one of the best underlying support remedies you can give anyone. And the thing about it, it's really low dosage. You're talking about 5 to 15 drops. It comes in a spray where you're talking 2-3 sprays as needed. Okay. 5 to 15 drops in the day total to help restore that system much better. And it acts pretty fast. So you can see, things in like within about 15, 20 minutes, things starting to calm down for that anxiety state, but you got the complete rebuilding of this thing that you can take months to do. So then moving into adrenals, I think I got about 3 slides on adrenals. I know we're coming up to the hour already, almost. All right. So pick up the pace a bit. Douglas Labs, Reloraplex. Relora is really, it's two things. It's a blend of two things, magnolia and philodendron. It really good at balancing the cortisol and DHEA levels, so that adrenal support that we're looking for. It's a great underlying support for anxiety. Okay, so if you got chronic anxiety, you can give Relora and GABA. Relora, the underlying, GABA for that acute support. Works great hand in hand. This is the underlying support for that adrenal state that's affected by anxiety. The B vitamins are important anyways. They might already be doing B vitamins, but the B vitamins help that Relora work through the system much better. Good thing about Relora is where you see supports weight management, the cravings, the addiction that happens through all of it. It actually helps balance that part of it too. So normally 2 capsules daily is what you're going to use Relora for. So underlying support for anxiety, Relora. Now we got adrenal support, pure adrenal. Remember that's what's affected with chronic stress, brings everything down, throws all the hormones out of balance, right? Brings down your energy, brings down your mental state, and throws everything else off, whether it's anxiety and depressive symptoms, right? Adrenals. The Comparative Adrenal Pro is interesting that it actually has all the adrenal stuff that we're looking for: rhodiola, Siberian ginseng, ashwagandha. Those are the 3 main, along with licorice, okay, which is not in here, but those are the 3 of the 4 main adaptogenic herbs are in here. Okay, so this guy here supports the adrenals on the long-term basis, helping build the stress support, adaptation, helping with the energy. And this is something you're going to do for a couple of months at a time, at least, to help build the system up. The beauty of the Adrenal Pro is that it actually gives you a 2-in-1. It supports the thyroid also. Tyrosine is an energy tonic, but it supports metabolism. When the thyroid is taking a beating on top of that because it throws everything off, the adrenals do, this supports the thyroid aspect of it. So if you're getting weight gain associated to high stress, this helps to support that too. So adaptogens that are helping with the stress and also metabolism support. I had a question here: would these remedies be safe? That's what's in CalGem tonic for individuals who experience addiction after a traumatic event. Using alcohol as a coping mechanism with stress, anxiety, creep, and surrounding events. Absolutely. There's no problems with CalGem on that. So because it's building it's actually supporting the acute and the long term, it's actually, as I said, one of the best remedies for anything stress related. Okay, so absolutely you can throw CalGem into the mix, no problem. I think that would be the better one. VC15 would be more so if the mind keeps going and that constant thought of a particular event going into more of a depressive type of state. All right, at the beginning stages, VC15 is good. CalGem would be better if it's already down there at that level. Okay. So Adrenal Pro, coming back to the dosage, I forgot. Okay. You're looking at doing about 2 capsules twice a day in most cases when you do adrenal supplements, morning and mid-afternoon, cortisol cycle. So you normally want to do these about 8, up 8, 9 in the morning, 7 to 9 in the morning, really. All right. And between 12 and 2 as a second dosage. You don't want to take them too late in the day. You want to try to manage it based off the cortisol cycle. So morning and mid-afternoon are the times you want to do these things. Okay. If you take it too late in the day, it will affect your sleep because of the energy that they do provide. NFH adrenal sap. Now they've got two different ones. They've got the regular adrenal sap and they've got the licorice free. So when we look at this one here, sorry, I think I've got the one. This is the adrenal for the licorice free one. So licorice free. If somebody has issues with blood pressure, it's uncontrolled blood pressure or it's quite elevated, and even if they're on meds, then you want to avoid the licorice. So the regular adrenal sap, which has the licorice in it, it has everything that we see on the screen, plus the licorice. Okay. You want to be careful of that one if somebody does have elevated blood pressure. Okay. If there is no blood pressure issues, and a lot of people actually have low blood pressure when they have this high stress, okay, then you want the one with licorice. So the adrenal SAP plain one is what you want to keep their energy up, keep them up and running, keeping their blood pressure normal. You want that one. But if blood pressure is an issue, you want the licorice free one. All right. So this is, again, what do we see? We see ashwagandha. We see holy basil. We see panic ginseng, more energy stuff instead of the Siberian ginseng. But we got holy basil, which is really good mind calming and adrenal support. Ashwagandha is the key one in here. And of course, the supporting B vitamins. So we got both panic ginseng and Siberian ginseng. Panic ginseng higher for more energy support. Okay. Again, one capsule 2 to 3 times a day is what you're looking at. And I prefer 1 to 2 capsules twice a day with this. Okay. So a physician is obligated to consider more than a diseased organ, more even than the whole man. He must view the man in his world, the environment. Okay. We have to look at what's affecting them, and adrenals, stress. It's everything. Their whole lifestyle has to be looked at. That's the individual that you're taking care of. Next, we're going to talk about insomnia quickly. It's not much. Okay. What's insomnia? Due to the effects of chronic stress and anxiety. So a sleep disorder caused by chronic stress. All right. Hormone dysfunction, throwing off the production of melatonin. Okay. Generally, we'll use neurorelaxants and anti-anxiolytic herbs, which have a sedative effect and aid the mind's ability to fall asleep. So one of the key things when it comes to sleep, it's not a true sleep issue for a lot of people. For them, it's the mind. Mind doesn't shut down. So we look at those things I just talked about, the VC15, okay, the lavender, Calgem, right? Theanine, all these things that are going to calm the mind down to give you the ability to fall asleep. A lot of times that's more important than just giving them straight melatonin to put them to sleep. But as long as we've talked about those, and if those have been, ruled out, well, let's look at the melatonin and herbal stuff for sleep. Melatonin, first of all, this is something about resetting the body's sleep-wake cycle. Okay. Getting that cycle back. That's why we do melatonin. Melatonin, there's really 2 main types. And the first question you ask when people say I have a sleep issue is it a tough time falling asleep, or is it a tough time staying asleep? If it's falling asleep, go back and look at the mind stuff, give the ability to fall asleep. And then you look at this quick acting melatonin, sublingual melatonin. You can get pills that you dissolve under the tongue, or you can get sprays like the Genestra melatonin spray, where you're going to do most likely about 3 sprays to get 3 milligrams to help you fall asleep quicker. Get that melatonin production happening. All right. Get lights out. So when we're looking at doing melatonin sleep issues, make sure the room is dark. There's no noise in this place. Okay. All right. The mind is clear. Now the melatonin will do what it needs to do. It will help to reduce the time it takes to fall asleep. Quick acting sublingual melatonin for those people who are having a tough time falling asleep. But those people who get up in the middle of the night several times, they get up, they start thinking, all right, and then they fall asleep after about half an hour type of thing. So a tough time staying asleep. You want the time release melatonin. So the Douglas time release over here, so it's enteric-coated for that time release, okay, is something that gets released over 6 to 8 hours. So it provides a continual sleep. So when you get up, you fall asleep much quicker. So eventually that time that you're up gets less and less and less, and it all becomes one long sleep. The key thing about time release melatonin, you want to take this about 1 to 2 hours before going to bed, but more importantly, 8 hours before you want to get up. So if you're getting up at 6 in the morning, 10 o'clock at night is the last time you can take this thing. Okay, because it will leave you groggy otherwise. So more important, 8 hours before you want to get up, but hopefully within 1 to 2 hours of going to sleep. It will get rid of that continual wake up cycle and put you to sleep continuously. It will take longer. This will take about a week to kick in. Unlike the other one, it should work more immediately. The sublingual will work immediately. Time release will take about a week to kick in. So normally 1, maybe 2 pills. You can go up to 10 milligrams of melatonin easily if you need to, but you can, 1 to 3 pills, but hopefully just start off at 1. And then there's blends. All the herbs that you're looking at, passion flower, hops, skullcap, chamomile, right? These are in New Root Sleep 8. You got all the herbs that are going to give you that calming sedative effect. Anxiety support here, the shanxi herb. Okay, it actually has this effect to treat generalized anxiety and insomnia. So we've got all the herbs that are going to give the mind and the body relaxation, but very low melatonin. Each pill gives you 0.5 milligram of melatonin only. So when you're doing 2 pills a day, you're getting a full 1 milligram. So when you do something like this, about 1 to 2 hours before going to bed, and another one right before bed. This has got the magnesium to help calm down. All the calming sedative herbs calms the mind, puts you to sleep better. Probably one of the best all-inclusive formulas for sleep. And the last one is Herbal Gem Noctigem. So going back to like the Cal Gem, this guy has the fig in it. Remember, the fig was the nervous system balancer. The second component this one has a sleep formula is Tilia. Tilia or linden bud is a great nervous system and physical calmer. So those people who've got restless sleep, they're agitated, and they've got this restless sleep. They got the aches and pain, muscle stuff like that too. Now you've got the physical aspect of calming along with the ficus or fig nervous system calming to put them to sleep much better. This is a great addition to somebody who's got chronic issues. You want to throw this in as underlying, where they can do about 5 to 10 drops right before bed to keep that state going and build the system up in a way so that they have continuous sleep overall, and you don't need any other supplements eventually. Okay, so that's Noctigem. All right, I think that brings us pretty well near the end. Let's see here. Yeah, it does. All right, so I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only make them think. That's why you're here. All right. I'm here to give you something. All right. You're here to take away what you want out of this thing. Okay. And build on it. Okay. That's how I've designed my course on top of that. Okay. So quickly tell you guys about my course. I think it'll probably be talked about later too, but we'll see. But I just want you to know there's actually my outline for my course that's starting in 3 weeks, 2 weeks. I don't even know. 3 weeks, I think, May 3rd. So that's actually the schedule. So those are all the topics I talk about in the order. It's a very simple course, 9 weeks, 3 hours. Obviously, this will be on Wednesdays coming in May, June. I like to keep it very simple. If I didn't have to do any marking, I wouldn't. The school needs marking for you to get your certificate, of attendance and so on. So there's one quiz, one simple assignment. And the interesting thing about my course is when I designed this course and started coming up with it and started doing this, I work with about 20 different companies. I've known all the suppliers that you guys, probably have heard of for about 20 years now. So I thought, let me reach out to them and see if they want to help me out in my course. Because the way I see it, there's no better way to learn about a product than to try it. And you see the results of this thing. And my course is about really, just for you to learn about supplementation and how they're best used. Okay, for these key conditions. So I'm not going to talk about everything. I'm going to talk about the main things out there. This is a continuing ed course. There's no prerequisite for this, as far as I know, whatsoever. There was a question about that. It's a continuing ed course. So I've had people that are never taken anything from IHN in this course. So there should be no issues whatsoever. It's basically just supplements. All right. And talking about those products, I'm going to give you a couple of pictures of the goodie bags that everybody basically gets. And this is, I'm the suppliers that I'm dealing with and what they're kind of providing me. Yes, things will change here and there in between what they give me, but this is the kind of stuff we're getting from these suppliers. Okay. So everybody gets all of this stuff. Okay. Usually it's about 3 goodie bags per person. Okay. That they all get. So it's quite a bit. Oddly enough, I think I don't even know how much a course costs. Honestly, I think it's $500-$600, but you get basically about over $1,000 worth of retail and product back, and some sort of words by me in between. Okay, so having said that, all learning is in the learner, not the teacher. That's your way of accumulating knowledge. Whatever you want to learn, you will learn. Take what you want from everyone, the good stuff, leave all the bad stuff behind. Go listen to everyone else's webinars. Go listen to webinars from other companies. Okay. Take all the good, leave the bad, and build on that knowledge. That's what you're here for. Okay. And the end. There's my contact information. Email me, bscnd@rogers.com. All right. My course, continuing course, runs 2 times a year, May, June, Mississauga campus. Well, it's all online now. October, November, North York campus. And that's usually on Tuesdays. So May, June is Wednesdays. I will now turn it back over to you. Let me stop share.
Thanks, Val. It was so, thank you for sharing all that valuable information. I'm sure everyone really enjoyed it. So for anyone that's interested in the course, starts on May the 3rd. You can email me. I will put my email in the chat, but it's Colleen@instituteofholisticnutrition.com. And the cost with taxes is $511. $511. That includes the tax first note. So yeah. So
okay.
Okay. So what we'll do now is there was a few other questions.
May I say one more thing?
Mm-hmm.
The course, because I do it twice a year, because I deal with all the suppliers, I cap it at 20 people. Sorry, I should mention that. 20 people, that's it. I don't take any more than that. And the course is completely online now. Sorry, no more in person. I love the personal in-person stuff, but it is online only. And that's been since COVID, and that's just the way, unfortunately, it's going to be for everyone. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, so I just want to thank everyone for coming, and then we'll just start with a few questions. Okay, so there was one. This one goes back to the GABA. Do you have recommendations? I guess it was the BioClinic one?
BioClinic one, yeah.
Yeah, do you have any other recommendations? Because I've been unable to acquire this one in Canada. And how do you feel about GABA and combined with L-theanine? Okay,
so you can, if you can't find this, you'll be able to find natural factors. They've got the exact same thing, just so you know. In the natural factors label, they've got the chewable also. They actually have a really good sleep formula with GABA, theanine, and some melatonin, oddly enough. So there's no problems doing that. You can find GABA from AOR. You can find it from a lot of suppliers. I prefer the chewable. So natural factors and or BioClinic is the exact same thing. You should be able to find one of those labels out there. I don't know, when you say in Canada, where do you live? Because I'm only talking about Canada stuff anyways. It'd be good to know where you live. You know what? Email me. And if you can't find the natural factors, we can always figure that out. Yeah.
Okay, so the next question was about the Calm Pro. How quickly would this take to work?
So the Compro was the L-theanine chewable that we talked about, and that was, and usually within about 5-10 minutes, you start to feel this calming, this. All right, like if I have to say, you know what, there's Rescue Remedy, which we all know is the fastest acting thing that's out there, and that within a couple of seconds you start to feel that relaxation. But Rescue Remedy doesn't last long. It takes, you might have to redose every 15-30 minutes. Theanine will work within, 5-10 minutes, but it will last, 2-3 hours before you normally have to redose it. So it will work pretty fast, relatively speaking. And you could do Rescue Remedy for the quick and Compro in conjunction with it if you need to.
Okay. The next question is, can someone take Adrenal Pro in the same day with Thyroid Pro from Comparative because they both have ashwagandha and tyrosine? Okay,
so simple answer is you can combine anything you want, but if you're going to do something like the thyroid and the adrenal, you'll probably want to do the thyroid 2 pills in the morning, most likely. Okay. And just do the adrenal 2 pills in the afternoon. That might be enough to sustain that person. All right. So there's, because thyroid stuff is normally done in the morning. Okay. Right just to get things, but most thyroid meds, that's how they're done out of the system right at the very beginning. And it should hold you up for the day. So take the adrenal in the afternoon when people really have that decline in energy. So that might be the best way to do it. You could sit there and go 1 pill of thyroid and 1 pill of adrenal twice a day if you want to. That's not a concern either. So no problem.
Okay. Next question is, can melatonin be taken every day? How long? And how long? Yeah.
So melatonin is really about getting your cycle back. And so you should be taking it to get that the messed up sleep cycle back. And you may need some of the herbs with it, but normally it could be up to 6 months that people need to take melatonin before their cycle gets back, assuming you've taken care of the stress side of things. Most people who've got a chronic insomnia issue have got major stress. So look at that support, and hopefully they'll need it for less time. But there's people who are taking melatonin on a daily basis, 6 months at a time if they need to try to get their cycle back. And they're doing that long because they're not dealing with the actual situation. So deal with the stress, all that other support the person needs, their nutrition, their bees, so on, for the energy throughout the day so they can sleep properly at night. But there's really no time limit to get your cycle back.
Okay, the next question is ulcerative colitis, can we give them Calgem as an anti-inflammatory?
I would normally give them just the fig. You can buy fig by itself, the ficus, okay. You can there's absolutely no issues doing the Calgem because the ribes is helping with the anti-inflammatory and the nervous system support the stress that's aggravating the ulcerative colitis with the fig. You could do either fig for the healing side of the gut, or you could do ribes nigrum by itself for that too. So this has got both of them. Either way, depends on what's worse. Is the nervous system worse? Then the fig might be better to do. If the inflammation is worse, then the ribes by itself might be better to do.
Okay. Next question is, what would you recommend for alopecia if stress has already been dealt with and the hair is still coming out in patches?
If stress has already been dealt with, so normally females, you have to still look at the hormonal aspect of it. Plus, you have to, because at the end of the day, this is going to be all hormonal. So you have to look at testosterone support. So you have to look into saw palmetto, you got to look into fenugreek. These types of things will help with that. But if the stress has been taken care of, the alopecia should become less and less. So obviously the stress has not been taken care of fully. Okay. If it's still coming out in patches, you're either completely nutritional deprived of iron, biotin, silica, these types of things. And iron might be the biggest thing. Okay. Otherwise, you have to go back and look at the hormonal aspect at adrenal, thyroid. You have to address all of these things and the testosterone conversion in the body. So you might want to get estrogen, progesterone, testosterone hormone, and adrenal hormone panel done to see where all those are sitting. and because alopecia usually is also improper testosterone conversion, both men and women.
Okay. And the last question, it looks like it says, is there a maximum daily dose of GABA and L-theanine?
Of the sun-theanine, no. As I said, you can do maybe up to 6 times a day if you want to do that thing. I don't know if there's a maximum dosage, but if I'm looking at 500 milligram of GABA from a particular company, you might be doing 2 or 3 of those. But the sun-theanine one, sorry, did I say GABA? I mean, let's talk about theanine first. That the sun-theanine is one of the fastest acting, but you can take it as needed. GABA, same thing. If it's acute anxiety, of the ones I've shown you, I've said up to about 6 times a day is all. Hopefully you need less than that, but you can go up to about 6 times a day on those ones.
Okay. That was the last question. The other ones were just if it was like, if the course was in person or online, which it's online, do we still have space? Yes, we have space. So those were all the questions that we had.
Okay.
Are there any other questions that anybody has before we kind of end the call for the evening?
There was actually, I think, one question there about who can we quote about this slide, the very first slide. It's actually just underneath. All the slides actually have the person who's giving me that quote. Okay. Oh, there was one. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So it's in the notes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming, and have a wonderful night. And hopefully we'll see some of you guys at the course.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye, Val. Good night, everyone. Bye.